This is the 22nd season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about fishing. We've kind of reached the midway point of the year. We're basically 6 months in, 6 months to go. Crucial AOY points, crucial requalification points, crucial races. We have an angler that has reached or breached. He has reached and breached the $500,000 in earnings, and quite possibly he's putting up numbers like we've never seen. Now, he doesn't have a tour level angler of the year under his belt, and he doesn't have one of the two big like a Red Crest or a Bassmaster Classic title under his belt, but he's also like 23, 24, 25 years old. So he's got a long way to go. And we saw Jacob Wheeler just get his first Red Crest championship this past year. But we're going to do a deep dive with Dave Rush from Best on Tour, bestontour.net, the weekly newsletter. He knows all things kind of behind the scenes. We're going to do a deep dive into that. We also have a really wild story out of the Bassmaster Opens from La Crosse with Michael Harlan. Like, I don't think people understand what happened to him at the first Bassmaster EQ of the year on Rayburn, and I reached out to him on Instagram. I'm going to try to get him on the show to tell that story. We're going to talk about a vintage Mike Iaconelli moment that applies to the recent winner of Division II on La Crosse, Wisconsin, not only beating the legend 77-year-old Tom Monsour, but also probably one of the best bounce back stories that I've ever heard about. We're going to kind of go through the EQs. I had a chance to talk with people from Bass, so we're going to know like the double qualifiers for Division II, how all that stuff is going to work. We're going to go into the NPFL. We have a 5-man race for the Angler of the Year. They're back in action this week with 2 stops left. And then in the second half of the show, we're going to have Tom Brewbaker on from Fishing Chaos, who's going to talk about what's going on at Fishing Chaos. So kind of a catch-up show, but it's also a double dip show, because tonight at 8 p.m. Central Time, we did it a little bit later because this individual is on the West Coast. We have Ish Monroe on for a full live BTL at night, and we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff with Ish. So long history there. So if you're not subscribed, you can click on that little bell. It'll let you know when we go live tonight. So 2 BTLs tonight. And I'm excited. I'm excited to talk to Ish. Also a good day, good BTL. Yes. 2 days ago, Matt Steffen and I, we did a film studio session, and then I dropped to the Meltdown at the Mississippi YouTube from La Crosse, Wisconsin. I actually asked today's guest, Dave Rush from bestontour.net, if I should post. Like, I feel like in bass fishing, a lot of the videos are sanitized, right? Like, they try to make you look good and all that stuff. And I'm guilty of the exact same thing. Like, I left key stuff out too as well in that video. But also, I think everyone loves to see a good spin out, don't they, Dave?
Absolutely, Matt. If you recall, one of our more popular segments back in the Bass Zone days, which was a written piece, I don't know if you remember or not, but we did What Went Wrong.
Yes.
And we would get with some of the guys that finished in the 90s or 100s, and people really enjoyed that segment and the articles we wrote about people who really just didn't figure it out. And there's so much that can be learned from what you don't figure out versus the guy who's super successful as well.
Yeah, I called it Meltdown on the Mississippi, and I think even if you don't if you don't put your content out, if your goal is to become a better bass fisherman, whether you fish tournaments or not, you're out there for so long and so much happens. I hadn't filmed YouTube content or Bassmaster Open content for the past 3 years. past 2 years, and they're the worst 2 years that I had. And just going back this year with, it's so easy to have the Osmo 5s and the audio and all that running now at all times. Like, I think there is something to be said for being able to go back and go and, oh, like, this is how it went down. This was my thought process. This is what it is. You can kind of go back and really analyze what you did right and what you did wrong. And I think there's a lot of anglers who would benefit from that, even if that film doesn't see the light of day and they're just going back and watching it themselves on key moments. Why I lost that fish, why I caught that fish, what I did right before I caught that fish, my decision making that led to either a disaster or a good. I think there's a lot of benefits to, if you're trying to hone your craft and get better at it, being able to go back and seeing what happened.
I agree. People utilize film study in all sorts of different sports. And I know in the fishing realm, we've had several anglers that talked about just finding something even like slightly mechanical that, hey, I was fighting a fish wrong or setting the hook differently than I had in the past, or, figured out something that they needed to tweak a little bit to make their game better. You mentioned the show that you and Matt Steffen did earlier in the week. I know you probably analyze yourself a little bit differently when you're just kind of going through all the raw footage, but man, I mean, that was just a treasure trove of information. I mean, particularly from Matt Steffen and some of the information he gave up about reading current and, the way grass grows, undercut banks, things of that nature. There's a ton for not only you as an angler, yourself can learn about, what you did right, what you did wrong, but I think the fans of the sport and fellow anglers can also learn a ton when you guys share your experiences on the water.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things I didn't put in the video that I thought was interesting was I spent a lot of time like not paying attention after I cast, because I, like with the Nico rig there, I'm big on like letting it fall on a slack line, kind of natural and things like that. And on that fourth or the limit fish that I caught, I actually missed that fish, and I just didn't put it in the show, but I should have. But one of the things that I noticed was, so I cast up to a post, and then I opened my bail and I went back, because I don't keep my unit on the time on the unit up front. I just found that I do better if I don't look down and I'm like, oh, it's already 10. And then I start fishing faster. I'm like, oh, it's only 10. And then I slow down. I just kind of let it flow. So I walked all the way back down in the bottom of the boat and was looking at my in-dash unit to see what time it said. And I missed a bite. And I was like, I picked up on it and I was like, oh, that was a fish. And then I reeled back in, stood up front, cast back there, and thank goodness it bit again. But like, those are just the little things that, over the course of the day, you kind of pick up on, like, hey, maybe I should like pay attention after I make a cast, stuff like that.
I think one of the things that in particular your videos this year that has been intriguing to me is watching, because a lot of the times, let's face it, you fish a lot of the same tactics, a lot of the same baits. You have a spinning rod in your hand. Probably the majority of the time you're on the water in tournament competition. It's been interesting to me to see how you fish the same baits and the same tactics with scope versus without the scope. And what I noticed in this one is I did not have a side-by-side comparison. Maybe that's something you could do for yourself or for the viewers, but it actually looks, it really looks very similar. Like you really aren't doing much differently. And I think that's something that it is a very interesting aspect of the, tournament with scope, tournament without scope. And it would be intriguing to me to see how guys approach that. I know in practice, you're obviously fishing without scope, so you get 3 days where you're kind of getting tuned back up. But, do some guys spend, a week prior fishing around the house, without scope just to kind of get back into it? Or is it just kind of you turn a switch and, hey, I don't have the scope, I'm just going to go out and trust my instincts and fish that way? But in particular, I think how guys work the baits differently, or the patience they have or lack thereof is something that's pretty intriguing to me as far as the film study.
That's a great point. And I think that's why, and we're actually going to talk a little bit about this too, why I think the Koike craze has taken off so fast is because it was a bait that me, you included, anybody who pretends like they knew how to work this thing before it blew up is either drastically fishing below the level they should have been at, or is just a straight up liar. But the amount of content that went out so rapidly when it went from the sinking to the twitching to the jerkbait style. Like you can watch all of that stuff and pick it up so quickly to now, we're seeing a pretty uniform way that the koiki is being fished. And that happened literally in a month due to social media, videos, being able to watch, analyze footage, see how the fish reacts to it. Like that was something that like Take South, Brian knew, the guys who kind of have it figured out and dialed in. Like I know Christie like wasn't a savant with the thing before he won with it. And like, I know I've been with some of the top guys in the game while they're literally like watching guys on YouTube fish it and going, I was talking to one dude and it was very interesting. He was talking about trying to simulate the noise that Pake and the guys who are koiki quote experts over this year make when they pop the koiki. And he was like, I was closing my eyes while I was fishing it, and I had just listened to the snap of the line and the pop of the rod tip. And he's like, that's what I was trying. You can't do that without so much game footage, game tape. It's definitely revolutionizing how guys are learning techniques, how fast the techniques, how quickly they're being exploited and kind of perfected.
Absolutely, Matt. I feel like you've had multiple guests on your show and personal conversations where everyone talks about the learning curve being so much shorter as far as learning techniques because of all the information out there. But I think without question, to validate your point, there's more information in a shorter period of time on the urchin style baits than any other bait in the history of bass fishing. I don't think that's even debatable at this point.
I agree. One of the guys who everyone's trying to figure out what he's doing, how he's doing it. He probably doesn't have to watch much game tape of himself because the only game tape of himself that he has is of him lifting trophies in the air. And that is Harrison, Tennessee's Bank Shaw, who just dominated Oklahoma. He won the pro circuit on Eufaula. We talked about that. Then he comes back on Grand Lake this past weekend in the BPT, and we're going to kind of start a rundown here of the NPFL, the Opens, the EQs, the BPT. We're going to start with one of the most impressive things. He gets his first BPT tour win. He kind of like hung around for the majority of the event, and then in the final period, just dusted like Zach Burge and dusted Caudell, 3 times Red Crest winner and local and Angler of the Year leader, to win it on Grand Lake with an incredible average. Bank Shaw absolutely crushed the competition on Grand Lake on a Father's Day weekend too, when there was a ton of boat traffic out there. So we're going to take our first break of the show, and then when we come back, Dave Rush from bestontour.net and I will break down all the action, kicking it off with Bank Shaw. This is BTL, Best on Tour Breakdown with Dave Rush. We'll be back in a minute and a half.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Before there were hashtags, there were handshakes and shared stories. They gave us confidence to make our first cast and chase our dreams. They taught us to fish, and in the process, taught us about life. They taught us that success isn't just about reaching the top. It's about lifting others up. The future isn't just about selling tackle. It's about 3 simple words. Let's go fishing. Here's to the original influencers.
All right, welcome back. Chatting with Dave Rush from bestontour.net. And Dave, I know Jody White's done it. Some of the folks over at MLF have done it too, but over at Best on Tour, do you have some of the stats as of June 24th, 2026 for what Bank Shaw has done over on the MLF side?
Well, you opened the show talking about Banks and the run he's been on, Matt. One of the things that really stood out to me monetarily was Banks earning $515,640 year to date over on Major League Fishing. And what's different with that and than we have seen with anglers in the past is Banks has not won, as you mentioned, one of the major big events. So he's not doing it in a huge chunk with like a $300,000 win and then backing it up with multiple solid tournaments. I mean, this is, he obviously has some wins, some $100,000 wins, but this is consistency, high finishes. I mean, the guy has only not cashed a check once that I'm aware of, this season. So
he started
extremely
out with
impressive.
$80,000 win on Okeechobee in a Toyota series, then won a pro circuit event on Wheeler in March for another $100,000, then the pro circuit on Lake Eufaula in Oklahoma for another $100,000, and then this past weekend on Grand Lake for $126,000. What I'm finding also interesting when you watch him fish, and one of the things that I'm noticing, Dave, and I'm curious if you've noticed this too, is the strategy, particularly on the BPT, that these guys are now utilizing as far as what period they're using their forward-facing sonar. And it seemed when they went to the one period format where you got to choose, the vast majority of guys, the very first year that they did this, would choose the first period. And as the years has gone on and as the tournaments have, you are seeing a handful of guys, a Bobby Lane, a Takahiro Mori, Dean Rojas, some of those, Mark Davis, who are opting to not turn it on regardless of where they are and are still having success. But then what I've noticed is you're seeing more and more guys that are strategically turning their forward-facing sonar on for the third period or the second period. It's not just 90% in the first period and then just one here or there. And that's what Banks did in this one. We're seeing Wheeler and Connell and the guys, Burge and Michael Neal. We're seeing all those guys do that too, which is a lot more strategy going into when they're using their forward-facing sonar period.
I would agree totally with that. And I was actually thinking about this, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. What was it, like the Preakness or one of the horse races was on, and they were talking about horses that are front runners and horses and jockeys that prefer to make a comeback from back in the pack,
bide their time and then have a race on the home stretch.
And I'm wondering myself, is this kind of equating those two things together, or is this or is what we are seeing in real time? Are we seeing these anglers say, hey, I've tried this, getting out in front and trying to hold on. Maybe I should try to hold serve and then have the, kind of turbo period, whatever you want to call it, the forward-facing sonar period at the end, because that is one of my strengths. And I know I can put up a bunch of numbers on the board at the end and put the heat on somebody who is trying to hold on that has already used their forward-facing sonar period, or, track down an angler that I feel like I'm a little bit more talented using technology than that particular angler. So I think it's probably a combination of the way the bite sets up for the guys in practice, the fishery, but I also think there is some of it where guys are finding their strength and whether they like to get out to a lead or whether they like to try to track guys down.
The other thing that I found that was interesting on the Bass Pro Tour, we always talk about earnings and things like that. Now they're most of the way through the season. They have one stop left on Sandusky, but through 6 stages, you're talking about 50 anglers. Now they are paying a very steep entry fee. It's over $5,000. I think it's $6,000 per event for these. So you're $42,000 in on that, but there are 13 out of the 50 anglers, and there's only been 6 events. There are 13 out of the 50 anglers that have over $100,000 in earnings on the BPT this year, which if you take a percentage of 6 figures, now this is, I understand, taking out the entry fees in it, it's a lot easier to get to 100,000 when you're paying $6,000. But you go back to the Elite Series, you go back to the FLW Tour, and you take the number of anglers who are 6 figures. It's typically 1 or 2 anglers who don't win but have incredible years, and then it's just everyone else who won. So if there's 6 events, there'll be 6 guys that made over 100,000 plus like 1 or 2, so 7 or 8 guys out of that. percentage wise, with the 50 anglers, to have 13 over 100,000 in earnings is, in professional bass fishing, the highest percentage of 6-figure wins that we've seen at the professional level.
I would agree with that. I mean, the numbers don't lie. I think probably some of that obviously is when you have a reduced field size, that you have more opportunity for those 50 guys to finish, top 3, top 4, top 5, rack up those $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 paychecks. So that probably lends to it. Going back to Banks Shaw a little bit also, we talked about Banks being a young angler and a young career. I mean, only 56 events with Major League Fishing and averaging $15,822.32 per event every time he launches
like 38
his boat.
top
Pretty good
10s,
average.
things like that.
Yeah,
the younger anglers, a guy like Banks, I'll tell you where a guy like Banks is really benefits. It's a double-edged sword, because A, he's showing a lot of the juice on how to do it, but B, he's going out, he's catching the fish. We're seeing him do it. We're watching how it's done. We're seeing where it is. If you took those numbers and stats, rolled it back 15 years and said, here's a kid in his mid-20s who's finishing in the top 10 70% of the time, I'll just say it, the entire industry would say, all right, we got to figure out how he's cheating. So the beautiful thing about the live is you can watch him beat everyone's ass in real time and watch the decisions that he's making and the moves that he's making and how he's doing it. So a lot of these younger anglers who in the past would be like, well, how's this, this isn't supposed to happen. This can't happen. We're able to watch how it happens and appreciate how good he is.
Yeah. I don't even think we have to go back that far, really. If you want to be honest about it.
Yeah. 6 years.
There's been guys that have been on, massive runs where there's been all kind of talk,
smoke.
all kind of smoke.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree. We live in a very interesting era in the sport of professional bass fishing. We started off the show talking about the learning curve and how short it is, technique wise. And also now you can see how a guy, breaks down a day in different formats. You can see him fish his strengths. You can see him, what he did, you're very familiar with Grand Lake. What he did on that final day, in that final period. Obviously
on Father's Day at the mouth of a creek that's the busiest creek in the entire lake.
See things like that
in the third period, not doing that, knowing, like, do you know how you have to have a big set of balls to wait until the third period to go dial those fish in when you know you're behind.
I was just about to say that, and it's if it doesn't work out, we're not talking about it that way. But it's also like you're cutting the corner on the dog leg, and then you're shooting one over the trees and over 3 bunkers. That's kind of what Banks did. But confidence is king, and the guy is fishing with, I would venture to say, more confidence and momentum than anybody in any professional league right now.
All right, let's briefly touch on the NPFL. There hasn't been an event from, the last one was May 21st, so been over a month. It's we talked about it last time between KJ Queen and Burge. Cobb's up there. There's a number of different guys that have a shot at that Angler of the Year, but the no forward-facing sonar, and they're going to 2 events where forward-facing sonar would historically dominate. This week, the guys start tomorrow, the 25th, on Logan Martin in Alabama, the end of June, and then they wrap up. Then they have stop 5 on the St. Lawrence River in July, and then they wrap up the regular season on Dardanelle in September. So June, July, and September. But these next 2, I think, is where the separation occurs, especially with no live scope. Logan Martin, St. Lawrence River, the next 2. We talked about the guys who are up there for the mix. Zach Burge, great chance to win the Angler of the Year in both the NPFL and the Bass Pro Tour. But I'm just thinking of the NPFL, the anglers that are in it, and the schedule that they have with the no live scope. I think 2 years into the no forward facing experience with NPFL, you have to tip your cap to those guys for scheduling where they have, what they have, and how that event is done, and then what you have going on over there. And, the numbers, aren't Elite Series numbers. I don't think they're expecting to be Elite Series numbers, but it seems like they got a pretty solid thing over there on the NPFL now halfway through this year.
I would agree, and I think they've navigated it very well. I mean, keep in mind they've had a few schedule changes. They've had to move some tournaments around due to high water, different aspects that all tournament organizations face when they're going to different fisheries. But man, I mean, some familiar names in the mix, and some guys over there having some really good seasons that we haven't really heard from in a long time. I know we've talked about the top 5 there. Probably more than likely those guys are going to shoot it out for the AOI. But you talk about guys like a Randall Tharp, a Jared Littner in 10th and 11th. I mean, those are guys that you have not heard a lot from in the past several years, and over there having super solid seasons on the NPFL.
All right, let's go over to Bassmaster. We kind of started off talking about that last division, number 2 in lacrosse. But Michael Harlan ends up winning that event, beats Tom Mansour, 77 years old, looking to become one of the oldest guys to qualify for the Bassmaster Classic. He won the regional, so he still has a shot. He has to go catch him at Hartwell later this year, finish in the top 3 there to get into the Bassmaster Classic. But Ryan Michael, 45-13, Tom Mansour, 45-14, Michael Harlan, 47-1. He's fished 9 events. He has 4 top 30s. He has over $60,000 in earnings now. United top 5 at Grand, cashed a check at Kentucky Lake. I don't know much about this guy, but here's what I remember. At Rayburn, I can't even remember who I was talking to, and they were like, "Hey, did you hear what happened to that guy?" And I was like, "No." And at Rayburn, so this is the very first one of the year. You're fishing it. This is the second year that he has fished the opens. Accidentally had 6 fish in his live well. Didn't even realize it. Weighed in his fish, and then the next morning, this is the way I understand. I'm hoping to get him on the show to talk about it. The next morning, so then he plugs his boat in, has a good day on the water, everything's Gucci. He opens up his live well to go through boat check, and there's a freaking bass in one side of his live well. And he's like, So he pulls over. He tells Hank, "Dude, I went through boat check. I have a freaking fish in my live well." Because he didn't self-report it before, and it was, the very next morning, his entire day 1 weight was DQ'd.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that's a heck of a way to start your
He ended up
morning
with a 0 on day 1 and was in dead last in 211th. Went out, ended up finishing 198th in that event, but then comes back 3 consecutive checks, 2 top 10s, wins the last one, makes the Bassmaster Classic, and still qualifies for the EQs, and did it in 3 tournaments because he basically got 0 points in the first one. So hats off. Like, you saw like the picture, he's got like 3 young kids and his wife up there, and he wins, and he was talking about how low he was when he started at the beginning of the year to come back and then to win in the last one and make the Classic. Like, that's one of the cool things that I think about bass fishing is it would have been real easy after that first one to pack it in and say, I'm not going to travel around the country and burn the rest of this. This dude stuck with it, trusted the process, believed in himself, and ended up with a trophy, Bassmaster Classic, and he's in the EQs.
Yeah, we talk about the mental side of the game a lot on this show, and that certainly shows he has the mental fortitude to bounce back from something like that. And something that's even more impressive to me, it's not like the opens are packed together. It took him, he had to live with that for a while before he kind of got a chance to go out and have some sort of redemption.
Yeah.
Very impressive. But yeah, impressive, watching it also on the final day there and how he ended up getting it done. He had a lot of things go his way, and got to be a little intimidating having somebody like Tom Mansour, in the mix, and knowing you probably are going to have to beat that guy on the final day. And he just recently won the Bass Nation National on the Mississippi River, and not the guy you want lurking around, if you're trying to seal the deal on a win in any of the pools of the Mississippi River.
I don't know, Dave, if you would watch any of that live stuff, but when I think of Tom Mansour and the thinly strand homemade black swim jig with the dark trailer on it and stuff, and then I watched him on live, it was, I don't know if that's how he typically fishes the swim jig, or if that was because of the time of the year and the post spawn, or if it was because he was in a little bit deeper stuff. He did not fish that like I, in any way, shape, or form, would consider a, quote, swim jig to be fished. It was almost a dead stick on the swim jig, and I'm really curious. There's not a lot of live footage of Tom Mansour fishing the swim jig. I'm wondering if that was standard, or if he is ever up there buzzing that thing around in the junk, or if he is one of those guys. I mean, he easily could have been throwing a Carolina rig. That's how slow he was fishing that swim jig.
Yeah, we've had the opportunity to go to La Crosse, several years ago, and I remember the first time going up there, just kind of being able to actually see some of the swim jigs that Mansour made and some of the styles of swim jigs those guys fish up there. And I think the first thing I noticed was the kind of more compact, smaller, thinner weed guard, smaller hook, not as beefy a hook as what you see down south. I think the first time I really recall seeing Tom Mansour fish a swim jig, he did well at a tournament on Lake Hartwell, actually, back in the FLW days. And they had some live coverage of him. And I noticed then it was, just kind of more of a steady, slower retrieve versus, what typical the Alabama shake or whatever you want to call it, where guys are really getting after it, shaking the swim jig. But yeah, talking to guys up there and jumping in the boat with some of those guys that fish that area, the swim jig technique, a lot more like Bill Lowen. Tom was obviously fishing it slower than Lowen, but Lowen's kind of a steady retrieve guy too. You don't see much shaking, just more of a reeling. If you saw him fishing from a distance, you would think he was fishing chatterbait, spinnerbait, cranking. I mean, not a swim jig. So different area of the country, but obviously whether it was just the time of year and he varies the retrieve and how he fishes that bait, the guy has made an absolute ton of money on that swim jig to the point where I believe his dog is named Jiggy.
There you go. I made a call to Bass, and I said, hey, a lot of not controversy or anything, just a lot of questions over how this EQ process is going to work, how we're going to determine who's in and who's out with double qualifiers. I finished 54th in division number 2. Knowing that there were double qualifiers, that I would be safe. So I'll just hit you with a little bit of info that I was able to get from Bass, just unofficial, just chatting with some people over there, just saying, hey, how's this going to work? So the first is who's in and who's out, because everyone, if you follow it, like this is deep in the weeds, right? So we're talking about like South Carolina independent wrestling stuff right here, Dave. Like this is the stuff that you live for. Everyone knows who Trey McKinney is once he gets to the Elite Series, how he got there. Same with any sport like that, NASCAR, golf, whatever. You don't know how the guy grinded on the Hooters Tour. That's kind of weird for 5 or 6 years before he made it up to the PGA Tour and got his card. But here's how it's going to work. Obviously, top 50 in either division, as long as you fish them, are all in. Division number 2 is over. So Brody Robinson beats Wyatt Burkhalter, who won on Grand. He is your angler of the year in that division, 50th place with 552 points. TJ Edwards Jr. The number of double qualifiers is not 100% locked in because the guys who guys who are fishing all 8 still have one event left in a couple months in Buffalo, New York. After that, every angler in the top 35 of the overalls, they will not go down below in the overalls. So the top 35, they're automatically in, and they're taking their qualification from the overalls. So if you're a Darryl Gleason or a Brock Bila or any of those guys who are fishing all of them, you're in. Then if any of those anglers that are in the top 35 are also in the top 50 of the division, they're going down the list of each division. So currently it's like mid to late 60s in division number 2. So if you're looking at it, you're talking like a Jacob Tompkins and Ian Waters, a Riley Nielsen, a Brian Post, a Chad Pipkins, all very legitimate shot to still get their invite into the EQs based on double qualifiers, because the majority of the guys are in the top 35 of the overall, are also in the top 50, and that's why they're in the top 35. So you're looking at a field of about 100. They said their hope was 135 anglers to fish all of the EQs. They're also allowing Elite Series anglers who want to jump in to get into that also to have a shot. You saw Robert G almost win in Florida, which would have given him an entry into the Classic at Knoxville last year. He ended up not winning, but they're looking at 135. This is where there's a little bit of change from what I thought it was. Norfolk on Arkansas, Toledo Bend in October, Gunnersville in November. I originally thought that Bass was going to just decide, hey, Norfolk or Toledo Bend, one of those will be live scope, one will not. Following the final division number 1 on Buffalo, they're actually going to do 2 different coin flips. And I believe they're both going to be streamed. The first coin flip is going to be for Norfolk and Toledo Bend. So whichever one, if it's heads is forward facing and it comes up heads, then Norfolk will be forward facing, Toledo Bend will be no forward facing, or vice versa. So that will be a coin flip, not like this year where Bass made the decision, hey, this one is, this one isn't, this one is, this one isn't, and they just alternated it. Then there'll be a second coin flip, yes or no, for Gunnersville. So the scenarios are either 2 with, 1 without, or 1 without and 2 with. And Norfolk either will or will not. So you have all sorts of different scenarios. So there is a chance in this world that Norfolk is forward facing, and then Toledo Bend and Gunnersville are no forward facing. There's also no forward facing chance on Norfolk with forward facing on Toledo Bend and Gunnersville. You catch my drift on how I'm going there?
Yeah, some great clarification. I mean, with a 3-tournament schedule, obviously you couldn't make it even unless they went to some sort of hybrid model on the final one, which was, obviously part of people's thought process is, hey, how are they going to do that final one? Are they going to split it or whatever? But yeah, good clarification there. I'm sure there's people who have preferences on how that would play out, including yourself. But the coin flip model, it worked really well for Bass, in my opinion, on the Elite Series determinations, and I think they're going to roll with it. And looking forward to see how it plays out. If you had a preference, what would you like?
I don't care. I'm in a flow state right now. I had 8 days that I fished. I had 7 days in flow state, and I can't change the outcome regardless of it. Listen, okay, I'll say this. We'll dive into a little bit of personal stuff. Following the Mississippi River, I've lined up a sports psychologist. I've actually talked about it for a number of years and done it. 41 running it. I've got 3 tournaments left. I'm going to talk to a sports psychologist before the EQs. Work on that mental game. There's far more number of guys that have kind of dove into that realm than care to admit. Obviously, if you saw what I put out in this last video, I have at very little self-respect for myself and fishing wise on what I will or will not put out on YouTube. So I'll say it right now. Is that something that I could be upset about and be like, stupid coin, determine, whether I could shake a minnow or not? Yeah. But he can't change the outcome of that. So I frankly don't give a damn.
I would be very interested. In your journey with the sports psychologist, I would be curious if they would be interested in kind of watching, like the day one deal, like watching a day where you're successful, maybe non-edited portions of it, and watching a day where you kind of, self-admittedly had kind of a spinning out type of day, and I guess what they could glean from that.
Has done some work with other professional anglers before, and it's been pretty successful for them. So also know that there's very little that I'll have guys that come on BTL that'll say, hey, I don't really want to dive into that. I would say the biggest thing that guys really don't want to dive into isn't baits, techniques, lines, hooks, how they're catching them, where they're catching them, what they're doing, why they're doing it. They don't want to dive into their work on the mental aspect. They're like, hey, I don't really want to talk about that. And it's because they believe that gives them the biggest edge in the game.
Yeah, I think it's very
at the top level. I'm talking at the top level. I'm not talking
Yeah, I think it's very cliche comment that whatever percentage you want to put on it, 90% mental, 99% mental, whatever. My decision making, we've talked about it ad nauseum about guys having similar mechanics, similar equipment. I mean, there's something definitely that separates the guys that are consistently at the top level of the sport that we cover versus the guys who have flashes of brilliance and then near the bottom other times. And I agree with you. I think it's the mental game. We've seen it in different ways too, right? Some guys, the intimidation factor, the confidence factor. Some guys, confidence in themselves. I mean, a lot of guys play it out differently, but I would wholeheartedly agree with you. I think that's one thing that guys really do not like sharing. I mean, the more information that's been out there over the years, it seems like it's become more of an open book. As far as guys sharing techniques, how they locate fish, map study, electronics settings. I mean, you name it, guys are pretty willing to share that. But to your point, a lot of guys do not talk about the mental side of fishing or share tips on how they stay sharp in that regard.
Let's say at this point, should the EQs require that much explaining? Pretty much sure everything is more confused. Listen, I will say this: Bassmaster is and always has. They have tried to find the way to get the best anglers to the Elite Series, and if you look over the past years, I think they've done a pretty damn good job of doing. You have to deal with local anglers. You have to deal with multiple schedules around that, multiple divisions or a single division. How much are people willing to travel? How much do you do it in divisions where it stays close to their home? How do you do the points? How do you keep people who are out of it to stay in it? Because you have to have a number of guys in order to have the payout and all that. Without 75 guys, if you do a 9 overall dropping once they're out of it, it is a very tricky balancing act. And I think as long as the guys who are in it, understand it, and know what they're doing. I understand it's not just a straight up cut and dry. It can be a little confusing because they change it a little bit of time, but I like that Bassmaster does it. And I'll say this: they put questionnaires out. They call and they say after the year, I don't know how many people they call, but I get a call and say, all right, be honest with me. How was it? What'd you think? Did you like it? What are the guys talking about? How it is? What could you change? What would you think if we did this, that, and that? And I know that they call multiple people and do that. They want the top guys because their brand is based on name recognition, bringing people in. It's a symbiotic relationship. The anglers benefit from the strength of Bassmaster, and Bassmaster benefits from the strength of the anglers. So they want those guys at the top. They're not just doing this. They're trying to get the best guys to the top. So I understand it's not just go out, catch them in the top 3 guys. It has been that in the past, but this kind of, you have your 3 EQs, you have to go around the country, you have the 4 tournaments, you have the different divisions. You're trying to keep the local guys in with then having everybody have a chance instead of having it down. It is what it is.
So in the spirit of confusing things even further, and you may not know the answer to this, but in the past, they have let Elite Series guys into the EQs. What guys are eligible? Not necessarily particular ones, but I guess
obviously
category.
The anglers who get kicked out of the Elite Series per points are in, but I believe they're also letting any Elite Series angler, even in good standing, fish the EQ should they choose to.
And so the field's not capped, I guess.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So I think that's a pretty good breakdown of how that all is going to work. Obviously, Division 1, once that wraps up, you'll have a more clear perspective, and then I would assume end of the Elite Series season, you will have some guys committing to jumping into EQs one way or another. But I guess officially probably won't know until the final EQ rosters come out before that first tournament.
Just a note, it has nothing to do with pride or ego. They think it's an edge, and they don't want to talk about that edge and get everyone else on doing it. All right, last thing we're going to talk about before we're going to let you go, Dave, and then we'll take a break and bring Tom Brewbaker in for Fishing Chaos. All sorts of cool events going on over at Fishing Chaos, running some nationwide tournaments similar to the St. Jude one, but with a lot bigger stakes. It comes up when the issue arises with an angler, and we've seen this with a number of different anglers, brings everyone back to real life, and that is skincare and health on the water and taking care of yourself. little bit of a self-deprecating story on my part, and I know that you take this very seriously, but I am big on the hoods, the long sleeves, and all that, but I hate wearing long pants when I fish. And at the beginning of this year, I had a sketchy spot develop on the outside of my leg, and I had not been to a dermatologist in 10, 15 years, but I'm also married now. So things that I would have put off don't get put off. So Court made a appointment at the dermatologist with me. And of course I got the whole, why aren't you using sunscreen and things like that. But it turns out that spot that I had been legitimately fairly concerned about for a number of months, I'm not kidding, Dave. She looks me dead in the eye and she kind of smiles and she goes, so she goes, I'm guessing you're a nervous individual. Like, do you have a lot of anxiety? And I was like, yeah, I'm fairly anxious. I have a lot. I'm a little jittery. She goes, have you ever heard of the term, you're a worrywart? And I said, yeah. And she goes, you literally have like what is called a worrywart on your leg. Like, it's non-cancerous. I'm not even going to have to take like a biopsy of it. She's like, it's very clear that that's what it is. And it's exactly where, like, when I sit on the boat, it's where my little finger hits kind of my mid thigh. And I had rubbed a worrywart into my leg over the course of this season, stressed out about trying to make the EQs.
Are you sure that this didn't happen at day one of the lacrosse?
Yeah, I'm absolutely positive. But I literally had picked at it even more because I was a worrywart over what it was. And then once she told me that, it was peace of mind. But she did say, you need to come in every single year. You need to keep, gave me a list of things that I should look at. I know that you're pretty religious when it comes to that, but that's something. Listen, I can see the statistics on the podcast and on YouTube. The majority of the listeners here are Caucasian males over the age of 35 who spend a lot of time out in the sun, Dave.
Yeah, and I mean, I wasn't religious about it at all. I'll tell you, like, what got me was when I first started working with you and Mark, we were at a tournament in Florida somewhere, and Shaw Grigsby actually was talking about it, and he may have had a scare with it or whatever the case was. But I mean, that was years ago. I was like, man, that makes a lot of sense. And I started going, and I was going every 6 months to the point where they were just like, hey, like, unless you see something, come, you're cool with coming every year. But, since then, working with companies like AFCO that offer, a lot of sun protection and getting more comfortable, wearing the sun gloves, the buffs, the hoods, the whatever. I'm like you. I don't really like fishing in pants. I'm definitely going to wear the shorts. But it's something that, we all need to take seriously. It's not a big deal. It takes 30 minutes, at the most.
It was super easy. And the peace of mind that I have now. So I say this, even if you don't have anything wrong, even if you book something that's 5 months out, 6 months out, or if you even have anything anywhere, book a dermatologist appointment. Your family will thank you. You'll thank yourself. You'll have the peace of mind. You can take care of it. There's a number of anglers who have had things that they caught early that are not a big deal, that never even went public, that you don't know about. They went and had it removed, and they went on with their life and fished for another 20, 30, 40 years. I don't ever talk about that stuff on the show, but I was pretty stressed out over it.
And it's huge stress relief, and I think
because of stress. So
when you go to, they'll tell you a lot of that stuff pops up from when you were a kid or whatever. You're out on the lake all day with your shirt off. It's like previous sun damage from years in the past before maybe you did start taking kind of skincare more seriously. But easy thing guys can do that are out in the sun as much as anglers are, to give yourself, your family, everybody peace of mind and catch something before it becomes a problem.
There you go. Anything else, Dave, before I let you go?
No, I think that's it, man. We are still doing the Best on Tour glide bait giveaway. I think you posted it, shared it on social media for us. Appreciate it. Huge giveaway over there, almost $800 in products, including some OG resin, KGB glide baits in colors that you can't get anymore, some Sunline, Big Bait FC. You head over to the Best on Tour website, maybe Matt's social media, or maybe he'll drop a link in the comments. You can go enter as many times as you want. We've had a ton of entries, man, and somebody's gonna win a huge giant box of glide baits.
bestontour.net,
cool.
and then you register for it, you sign up for it, you get a chance to win that, and then Best on Tour is like, cool, now we can send you the newsletter. So we've been talking about symbiotic relationships. It's a win-win for everybody there.
Also for current subscribers, so we're not discriminating. Don't have to be a new subscriber. Just head over there and enter. If you check out the Best on Tour social media on Facebook and Instagram, pretty much daily something's getting popped up there. Send you a quick little link. You just comment, send you a quick link, and your chance to win some really cool glide baits. Kevin has been very gracious in the stuff that he dug into the stash and is willing to give away some of the stuff I didn't even know about. So pretty cool deal there, but I appreciate you having me on. And man, we are wrapping it up, getting down to the nitty gritty of the season, but a lot of fishing left to determine these AOYs, but we're getting there.
That'll work. All right, Dave, we'll see you.
See ya.
Oh, he's a South Carolina guy. A Carolina guy and a baseball fan. I didn't even mention that. OU smoked everyone in the Natties. Historic run of epic proportions. Beat North Carolina 13-2 in the final with 4 freshmen in their rotation. Well, actually 3, because games only went 3, but they started 3 freshmen. First time that's ever been done. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Tom Brewbaker, also special guest Mac Hoover, going to talk about upcoming live events on it. Also going to talk about the Ultimate Angler 2026 virtual qualifier. So if you're listening to this, if you fished in the St. Jude fundraiser through Fishing Chaos, it raised over $4,300 for St. Jude. You're already qualified or already know how the system works and stuff. And this is your ticket to the Ultimate Angler tournament on Lake Gunnersville. $500,000 later this fall. Doesn't matter where you're from. You have to have your own boat and for it. But Fishing Chaos, the only place that you have a chance to qualify for that. Also, kind of the future of what Tom has cooking for live events coming up. It's BTL on a Wednesday. We will be back in a minute and a half.
As a professional angler, there's only one thing that connects you to your paycheck. Probably the most crucial part to tournament bass fishing. I use Sunline because they have a line for every application. Shooter, FX2, All Might, super light line, big stuff, big sticks. Sunline has you covered.
Sharp as can be. Super strong, super durable.
Really good penetration.
Thinner and stronger.
Catch fish after fish.
I want to make sure that I'm using the best stuff possible.
World's finest hook. World's finest hook.
Gamakatsu, world's finest hook. When I'm in a tournament, conditions are constantly changing and every second matters. With the Deep Dive app, I can instantly pull up all the current lake conditions all in one spot. So no more looking at weird government websites. In just one quick glance, I have water clarity, water level, wave forecast. It's all right there in the Deep Dive app. Download the Deep Dive app and get all the tools you need to put together an awesome tournament.
Pro Bass Adventures is reinventing Mexico bass fishing. With boats equipped with 12-inch Garmin units and LiveScope Plus, free loaner fishing rods, and no-cost airport transportation, Pro Bass Adventures is proudly putting you in the best position for success. Pro Bass Adventures has lodges on Lake Baccarat and Lake El Salto, Mexico's 2 best trophy largemouth bass lakes. Visit probassadventures.com or email probassadventures@gmail.com. The official Mexico fishing lodge of Bass Talk Live. Welcome back, BTL on a Wednesday. Don't forget tonight, 8 p.m. Central Time, a little bit of a late night show. I finally got him. I said, dude, you got to be in one spot. You got to have good internet. We're going for over an hour. Ish Monroe joins BTL. We're going to talk about all things from his career. I kind of like that when I was like the David Walker show, the Dave Lefebvre show, instead of just like kind of current stuff, going back on stuff from the past and getting the real story behind it. And trust me, there's a lot of stories with Ish Monroe. Also at the end there, you saw that Pro Bass Adventures BTL, the 2 trips, the El Salto one that we're doing in December and the back rack one that we're doing in January. El Salto, I just talked with Josh. El Salto is open. They're working on getting the lodge backing up. You know, it'd been closed there for a little bit over a year. He said the fish are absolutely snapping. They can accommodate about 26 people in that lodge. And currently that trip is full. He's like, dude, I get a lot of text emails from, or not text, but emails, messages from BTL listeners. That BTL trip is full. He said they're starting a waiting list for that. There are still some openings in January on Bacharach. Your top end on Bacharach is going to be a little bit more than it is on El Salto. Like the way I say it, like more 6 to 9 pounders on El Salto, more shot at a, this is going to sound ridiculous, a 10 to 15 on Bacharach. That lodge is a lot bigger there on Bacharach. So shoot me a message or you can email probassadventures@gmail.com if you want any more information. In just about 6 months, 7 months, heading down to Mexico. All right, let's bring him in. Tom Brewbaker from Fishing Chaos. He's either in like a new office or he just decided to take everything down from his walls. What's up, Tom?
Matt, I moved, man. You didn't know that?
No.
I moved to Music City as of last week. So
wait, that's Nashville?
Nashville, yes, sir. Yeah.
I would have been embarrassed if I got that wrong.
Well, you know, there's a lot of debate over Music City. If you're not from Nashville, I heard a whole thing on this, how there's, you know, technically San Francisco's Music City because they have the most, I mean, I don't know. It's Nashville's Music City. Yeah, it's country Music City, but it's turned into a lot more than that. And this is where my wife's family's from. And yeah, so we moved from Columbia. So I'm no longer a South Carolinian with Dave Rush.
Trendy. You went from trendy city to trendy city.
Dude, you know, more people are actually moving from Nashville to Columbia, South Carolina. If you didn't know that, it's like a super popping town right now.
Traffic in Nashville is not ideal.
Dude, if I didn't love my wife and love my family, I would not move here. The traffic, I like people. I just don't like being around stuck in traffic with a bunch of people that I don't know for hours trying to get to anywhere. It's so much traffic.
So does this mean that every country star will now have their own Fishing Chaos tournament coming out? I know like how you kind of dabble in some of that stuff, but you're kind of in the mecca there with all the folks with guitars and bass boats.
Honestly, the number of people that we've already talked to about that I don't know. We could have done that anyways with me being in Carolina and the office in Mobile, but like now that, you know, it's just proximity, I think a lot of that stuff's going to happen a lot sooner, and able to drum up some pretty cool tournaments that involve some of the stuff like, you know, what happened in, you know, the future, and just cool collabs and just bringing characters together and stuff like that. So yeah, but I have nothing on the office walls. We're getting that all set up. But I've got some other priorities on the honey-do list I got to get to before I put my, you know, largemouth bass mount on the wall.
That's fair. That's fair. One of the reasons why I wanted to get you and Mac on, and we'll bring Mac in here in a second, is to talk about what you have coming up for live events. You had the future event. We had Scott Martin on and talked about that. Like in many things, first time is not always the charm. Had a great event. It went off with a hitch in the live feed. Mm-hmm. So wanted to get you on. I know that there were a lot of people that were excited to watch that and are still excited to watch that. So wanted to get your take on what you have coming up to try to revitalize that and bring that back up. But before we bring Mac in, what I wanted to also talk with you about is the Ultimate Angler virtual qualifier that's going on right now on Fishing Chaos. And there's obviously more BTL listeners now that are familiar with Fishing Chaos, how it works, the measuring, the length, the divisions, submitting your fish and all that. But this is, I would venture to say, this has to be the biggest online bass fishing tournament in history. If you look at what the qualifying is for, I don't think there's ever been a bigger one, has there?
Yeah, I mean, we had this one last year, so it's the second time we've had the online qualifier. But there's also, I mean, it's just, what a time to be alive, I guess, in the sport of fishing, because you also have Strike King's Road to the Opens championship is happening in September. And that was really cool because you had 3 online qualifiers. And I think it was like the top 25 in each region all qualified for the in-person championship. And so the winner of that tournament on Table Rock in September is going to get their entry fees covered. And I think some cash too, to help along with the expenses for the 2027 Bassmaster Open. So, but yeah, outside of that one, I mean, these are the 2 that kind of stick out to me as the highest stakes. I mean, if you're scoring online in order to be able to qualify into a tournament, I'd love to see somebody, I mean, hopefully listening right now, that fishes this, qualifies for Ultimate Angler, and then goes and wins it, and you win $500,000 through it, a way of an online tournament. I think that would be very cool.
Yeah. I'll tell you right now, that is a very real possibility, because sitting in second currently, and this tournament runs from 5/18 and ticket sales end on the 4th. The tournament ends on July 5th. So, you're behind the 8 ball right now, but it's only the 24th. So if you buy it now, you can fish the 24th through the 5th. Like it doesn't matter. That's the beautiful thing. And it's the 5 longest, but I will tell you right now, from a Fishing Chaos standpoint, number 2 in the big 3, what is it? Is it only the top one, or is it how do you have?
It's the top in each region.
Okay. So Dalton Albright, the KVD of Fishing Chaos, trust me, is that a fair assessment?
Yes. All public waters. This kid is legit. I want to say that too. He's not there's no way to rig the system of Fishing Chaos. Like, he's fishing public waters. We know where he's at, and
you've talked to him personally. You've verified.
Yes, I've talked to him personally. The kid just is a hammer, and he catches bigger. I mean, he's a heck of a crappie angler too.
He won the BTL, or got second in the BTL one, I believe.
Yeah. He didn't end up
but
with
I will
big
say,
fish. I think Ethan Conway had that.
Number 2, James Biggs, Federation Nation national champion, has fished the tour, has qualified for Bass Nation championships, Forest Wood Cups, TBF national champion. He's in second, and trust me, his goal will be to track down Dalton Albright. I see his fish aren't, he must have just put him in because his fish aren't 100% verified yet. But this is a guy who, if he gets into the Ultimate Angler at Gunnersville, has won a Bass Nation regional in the fall on Gunnersville without live scope, 200 boat field, won the event by over 30 pounds. Like, knows it, wants it. The reason he is doing this is to get into that tournament. And he will be, like, I would venture to say that there will be more inches total for James Biggs. And should he qualify, he will be a legitimate threat to win the $500,000 through the online qualifier from Fishing Chaos.
I would love to see him track down Dalton, because I mean, I don't know where is James from?
He's in Texas.
Okay. Well, okay. So he's not close to his potential yet. Does he? He doesn't have a. Oh yeah, he hadn't even gotten a 25 incher in there yet. So yeah,
he's got a 24, 23 and a half quarter, 23 and a quarter, 23 and a 22.75. So there's room to grow for Mr. Biggs.
For sure. Yeah, and this is where, like, the live streaming side of this, like, kind of merging that conversation a little bit. Like, this is something that you're going to see play out more. The reason we did the future was, and like, this is where I made the mistake. I made that field way too legit, and then I put promotions out about it. No, nothing paid, just organic stuff. And like, so it put all this attention on it. But really what I was planning to do with that is kind of have that as like a kickstart to anglers just streaming more on their own. I'd love to see there be like thousands and thousands of anglers that are streaming. And so that in these kind of tournaments, if it gets down to the wire, like, and the weights are close and the links are close, we can have a head-to-head fish off between like the top two. And, it's where it can actually be streamed. And so there just is more like it makes the qualifying side where say there's no live stream for like the multi-day qualifier, but then you get down to your final, and now Dalton's got to go beat James like directly. They've just qualified into now a head-to-head that's a single day, and so that's what we're trying to implement more of, and why we've moved to also like industrial grade streaming equipment.
Is this a good time to bring Mac Hoover in?
Yeah.
What's up, Mac?
What's happening, guys? Appreciate y'all bringing me on.
Thanks for jumping on BTL.
Absolutely.
So this
First
is
time on BTL.
This is Max deal now. Tom is angler proofing live streaming.
Hey. So what I'll say is I've known Mac for a good minute now. He and I actually got connected through Hood Fishing Entertainment, Rasheen Bailey, when we started working together when I was at Rather Outdoors. And Mac, I mean, I'll give you, I guess, a little intro. You were Scott's basically first media camera guy. You do a bunch of work for Outdoor America, for several networks, several brands, Z-Man being one of those. I mean, you're one of the most seasoned guys, despite being, how old are you, 26, 25?
25. Yeah, I appreciate that, Tom. Thank you.
Yeah, man. So yeah, that's my intro for Mac. But yeah, we started doing this, kind of conceptualizing these live stream like clashes between content creators and professional anglers, and sort of merging those two worlds. We've been talking about that for a couple of years now. And Mac's the one that brings all that to life visually, and man, does it make a difference when that stuff you actually can watch it versus talk about it.
Absolutely.
So what are the main challenges in continuous live streaming, Mac? Like in your mind, because so like BTL, we did it in 2018, but it also required 2 giant cameras, 2 different cell things, a converter that combined them all together. And it was a major pain in the ass with me and Dave Rush that would take days to get it to do. And then we would do one and it would be like, hey, you can't fish within 50 yards of a marina that has a metal dock on it. You can't go into this arm because there's no service, but like Main Lake, Bluebird Skies, we can get a stream on Swindle. We can get a stream on Jordan Lee. We can band together our stuff and make it work. But right now the challenge is having guys just go fishing, be able to hit a couple buttons from all around the country or all in one place and have it seamlessly go out, and have guys like me and everyone who like knows how to turn a camera on and use a computer, but knows nothing like what you do or the guys behind the scenes. I would imagine that's the biggest challenge that everyone's trying to kind of, I guess there's an arms race right now.
Pretty much. I mean, you're still going to deal with all those challenges with something, like live streaming. There's just a unfathomable amount of challenges. You're dealing with cameras overheating and some of the things that you just said as well, getting too close to a tin metal roof, or just so many different variables. And you got to remember, especially on we're fishing in lakes, we have mountains, we have so many different elements. You're just out there, and what we tried to do was something, especially at the scale that we presented this whole thing together, was really, kind of crazy. We brought a lot of different anglers in, and, put a lot of different cameras and a lot of equipment, on these boats. There's a lot of different challenges, and, Tom will back me up on that. I mean, he saw the whole thing, the whole day too, you're trying to troubleshoot one thing, and when you go to do that, something else will come up. And it's just a constant, reoccurrence of that.
Well, and I will say, not to cut you off, Mac, but I do want to make sure everybody knows that Mac wasn't over the live stream or had anything to do with the issues that happened there. Mac's background is telling stories, creating awesome video content, and the production side of it. And he's the best guy that we could have had there and be involved with this, with capturing the moments that you guys will see come out on YouTube in the next week or so. Just more content that actually was filmed on the water that people got on their GoPros, B-roll, just different things that we got there. I guess in the heat of the moment, when you find out at 6:00 in the morning that somebody has updated the code in the boxes, which is not Mac and I's background.
Mhm.
The outside party we worked with, they made an adjustment to the boxes that they thought was going to be helpful. What it did was it introduced a bug into all the boxes. And then like naturally, if you're the person that's put that together and everything is your hardware setup is not working, like you're going to tell Mac and I like, hey, I can get these rebooted. We'll get them on everybody's boat. We'll be fine. And it'll take 20 minutes per boat. It really took like an hour and a half to 2 hours per boat. And so like then the time goes on and I'm sitting here just trying to run a tournament because at the end of the day, we're paying out $10,000 and 6 spots into Ultimate Angler. So at the end of the day, that's the part that I wanted to uphold and just get people out there. And, and then sort of like, it was obviously a very hot parking lot, Matt, that we were all standing in. And, so it was easy at the time to like really say, man, the stream didn't work like we wanted it to. And so like, man, like that's a bummer. But then we remembered that we got so much good content out of this. And the day of fishing was just so incredible that, there's a lot of positive to take away from it and a lot of positive momentum, into the future in the next version of this.
Mac, let me ask you this. You've been around, the business side of it. You've been around the professional angler side of it, and you've been around the content creation side of it. From what I would say the general public, like BTL has a lot of guys who are like tournament fishermen, right? Like we just did a 20-minute segment on double qualifiers in the semi-pro level to get to the Bassmaster Elite Series in 3. Like that's not going to like interest a lot of people, but it interests a lot of the hardcore fans. When you're putting it together, like where do you think the industry stands now as far as interest in tournaments, interest in competition, interest in storytelling, interest in just overall entertainment based around fishing? You see where I'm saying? Like, has there been a shift from tournaments to entertainment, or is it education heavy? What are your thoughts, just if you were to take a snapshot of the bass fishing industry from the tournament and the social media side it stands?
Well, I think people just always want to be entertained, no matter what. I think you're always just going to have your core group of people that want to be entertained, and they want to see something different. They want to see the evolution and the revolutionizing innovation of the industry in one way or another. I feel like with what we're doing here, it's definitely much different than, anything else out there. You can see all these guys out on the water at the same time and go and be in tune with everything going on while it's happening. I think, based on my background with TV and streaming and, being in the industry as long as I have, I feel like that's something that the industry has needed for a long time, is being able to get everybody together to be able to tune into an event that really, ultimately gets everybody, excited. I feel like, over time, a lot of the tournament leagues and where everything's kind of turned into is, just kind of a big corporate deal. And I think, honestly, I feel like many people have lost interest in certain ways, just on the entertainment end, because it turned into, more of a big sponsor thing and just a big corporate deal. And I think, making it fun and bringing the audience into it to be a part of it in this way, I feel like is definitely where the industry is going.
Tom, it's the more I kind of have gotten and dabbled in this, I see the importance of it. And to me, the biggest growth right now on YouTube, and I know YouTube's kind of pumping it and stuff, but it was the social media, the influencer golf. Grant Horvat, Brian Bros, Bob Does Sports, all those guys. But what was interesting was then you had Phil Mickelson get in, you had Bryson DeChambeau get in, you had a number of the professional PGA and live golfers that saw the value of it. You also had guys like Rory and guys who aren't really, JT aren't really, he just did something, but they participate, but not really. They have to at some point. But the sweet spot is when you see what Bryson DeChambeau did. So you have a major winner who's one of the best in the world, who's combining with a Bob Does Sports. So you're bringing both of them together and you're seeing it live and you're humanizing the robot that is Bryson DeChambeau and you're legitimizing the Bob Does Sports guys that you have a top 10 guy doing it, and you're learning from some aspect and you're entertained by the other aspect, and you're bringing it all together into something where you have everybody that's watching it.
Mm.
I feel like in a roundabout way, I mean, that's what you're attempting to do with all of this efficient chaos, except instead of just 3 cameras on a stationary 18-hole course that doesn't move, where you just have to make sure you have good audio on the mic and consistent lighting, you're trying to do the same thing, but on 12 different golf courses at the same time.
Yes, that's a good way to put it. I mean, it's recognizing that. I mean, I haven't been in the sport like a super long time, but 10 years ago I was at Major League Fishing. Gosh, man, it's been that long.
We're old. At least I'm old.
Yeah. Oh, golly, man.
I got a buckling knee. I'm 41. I've got a buckling knee. A random
and you got
buckling knee.
You got a worry wart. You got a worry wart.
I got a worry wart and a random buckling knee. I still have a good hairline though. At 41, still have a good hairline.
Still strong. Let's go, baby. Yeah, that you're definitely in the minority with the strong hairline.
No grays yet, but other than that,
let's go.
I grunt a lot.
I do too, actually. When I'm getting up, I'm starting my joints are just like, ugh. Yeah, my wife started calling it out. That's what happens. Yeah, and just to merge that back. So it's for me, I guess it's seeing and then being like on the rather side and like seeing sort of the angler, like where's the career longevity? Like, does it look healthy in the future for as many people to have careers in professional bass fishing? I'd like to see it grow to where it's like you don't have to. I mean, obviously, the availability of sponsor dollars, endemically and non-endemically, the amount of tournaments and what those payouts are, that's going to be a big factor. But if there's this other channel where the angler becomes their production company and they control their ability to monetize and reach and entertain people through their own channel, that's where I think we're creating, a platform. That's what Fishing Chaos says, is the platform to sort of facilitate the revenue streams that anglers, hadn't taken advantage of before that are now available. And then creating these hot button events, bringing those people together and them allowing them to maximize the earnings to their individual streams, to introduce more people to those people, like as characters and their personalities. Cause I mean, like you said, some of the, like, for example, Fred Rumbanis may be somebody that like, the outside of the bass world, they may not know exactly who he is, but the guy's personality, he's magnetic. And like, I think on camera, like paired with like other people, he's just super personable, and Freddie can get a bunch more fans through live streaming and through events like this just because of who he is. And so, and there's just a number of people that were in that tournament that are that way, just good people that are, it's fun to hear them talk and fun to watch them fish. And so, I'd say that, like, yeah, the comparison there with like the content creator, event side with the golf world, it's definitely parallel. And I think they're experiential sports. Like, that's what they have in common, is anybody can go out and golf, anybody can go out and fish. Not anybody can go out and throw on football pads. And I mean, I don't know, you could fish.
I mean, you'll just do it for 30 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Say goodbye to you.
Card it off. He can technically do anything once.
Dude, yeah, tear my Achilles 30 seconds in. That's what happened.
I mean, what we're talking about, Mac, like, are you on the same page as all this? Is that kind of like what you're trying to catch? I mean, like, you have to be, like, with what you do, you have to be familiar in what the golf world has done.
For sure. And I think it's all very synonymous. Like, I think with what we're doing here and the storytelling side of it, if I could show you my other computer screen over here and how we're kind of like breaking down the segments and kind of, telling the whole story of, who these guys are and why they want to be out there and why this is important to them. And, to just be out there, do a cool collaboration with all these, these different people and just be in the same spot and to get to do something in such a beautiful location too, like Gunnersville. I think that's really, special to all the anglers too, to be able to do that. And from the content perspective side, it's just, it's endless.
Yeah. So even though people were not able to watch the majority of it live, the future content from that will be coming out on Fishing Chaos's social media platforms here in the near future, so people can kind of see what went on behind the scenes and how it went down.
Absolutely. We got a whole, it's basically like a documentary style episode, how we're kind of putting it together, and just kind of explaining the whole background and, just all these different guys. And, it's just, I'm going through clips, and I was going through a bunch of stuff last night, and I'm just dying laughing. Like, there's just so many great moments, and just the crap talking and just the whole thing together is just, it's hilarious to me to, see all these people together and doing this thing, and just all the passion behind it. You get to hear all the years of experience. I mean, you put all those years of experience of all these different people together. I mean, you got some hammers out on that lake, and a lot of these guys, some of them are a little bit worried. They got the competitors are up there, so it's like, I think to bring in this side of the competition really just it excites people.
All right, Tom, what's next? Are you going back for round 2 with live streaming, with more things, with multiple boats to where you try it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're jumping right back in the fire?
Yeah, well, I mean, I wouldn't say we're jumping right back in the fire. It'll be a calculated, well-built log cabin style fire that is well structured, that we know how it's going to burn. But I would say, like you mentioned, like, it being like an arms race, sort of, like, I don't really look at it that way, because like people are going to stream. Everybody's going to be streaming, and like, we just want to provide a platform for people to get the most out of that. And people are going to stream all over the place and have their different hardware.
Look at the fishing podcast space.
Yeah, it's all gonna, like, we want to provide tools that enhance that. And we do have about 250,000 anglers that are on our platform every single month. So we know there's people there that want to watch that. And man, if you'd seen the chat, like, just that side of it in Fishing Chaos during the future tournament, like, it was so fun. Like, people were having fun, like, sort of jabbering back and forth with each other, and making fun of me, and all kinds of other stuff, which I just love to see. That I love to see the community aspect of it. And so, yeah, we're gonna do it another. The future will get a second version, and probably a third and fourth and a fifth, and it's just we may rotate the field every time, and maybe some of the same people. And there's a lot of interest in it, just from the angler side too, of continuing to do it. The people that understood the vision, I mean, the long-term vision, and weren't just, jumping in for the ultimate angler qualifier. I think the people that understood, and like, that's the thing for Mac and I, like, this isn't like the day job thing for us. This is like a passion project. Like, we want to show how this could benefit anglers and be an exceptionally entertaining product. So it's not really about like competing against anybody. It's just about pulling the right people together in the right environment, and then running a cool derby. Like, I mean, that's really it. And then having the platform for people that want to stream and want to monetize with whatever equipment they have to be able to do that. But there will be more. Yes, I guess the roundabout way to answer that, there will be more.
And the best way to follow that is Fishing Chaos. The
Fishing Chaos
app, or fishingchaos.com, or Fishing Chaos on Instagram or YouTube.
Yep. Follow Mac Hoover. And then we'll probably, we're still thinking about how we're going to separate out the YouTube side of the future, because that was supposed to be kind of like a one tournament thing, but because of how it went and because of the feedback we've gotten afterwards, we're like, oh, we should probably do like a few of these, even though, like, despite it not just the desire for it, we're gonna keep doing them. And I'd love to see it to where anglers, they're going head to head and challenging each other, streaming. And if they would like to contact us about how to set the equipment up, or what they need, and how to get connected in, and how they can profit off of it, just we're the space to come and talk about that.
Mac, I'm curious now, I went to every single Elite Series event from 2008 to 2018. But since I haven't been to any, you see a lot of young, very talented videographers, storytellers, guys like that running around. In today's day and age, between the BPT and the Elite Series and professional fishing, how many guys would you say are making a full-time living? Like, that's what they do, is their job, to either document, put together, do the stuff behind the scenes, you know, not in fishing, but are making a good living in the industry. How many of those guys are out there, would you say, now? Because like when I left in 2018, there were like 2. That was it.
It's I would say it's become a little more saturated. You know, there's so many just great video guys out there now. You know, there's a lot of hammers behind the camera. I would say my biggest thing is when it comes to the fishing world, doing tournaments and, you know, living that life and being a part of that grind, especially with Scott and doing it for years with Scott, you know, and just, you know, being his, you know, right there as a right-hand guy, and, you know, from driving the trucks to, you know, bringing the boats out and, you know, doing camera boat, producing episodes, everything from Discovery Channel to the YouTube to just the whole grind of being in the tournament world. It's a lot on you, you know, and, you know, when everybody else is going to bed, you're still there editing the video until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, get an hour of sleep, get up an hour before everybody else, get the cameras ready, do the whole thing. So, I mean, it takes a toll. So it's really, in my opinion, it's a young man's game. I mean, once you get to a certain age, you know, it's a lot, you know, so you really got to love it. And this is what I always tell to, you know, anybody that's trying to come into the industry and wants to, you know, be a video person in the outdoors and fishing world. And I always say that you got to love it more than anything. You got to be, you know, just willing to get in there and put the time in, and it will take you places, you know, but you just gotta love it. You know, if you don't absolutely love it more than about anything else, you know, you probably shouldn't be there. So, you know, it just kind of comes down to your passion at the end of the day. But there's some really great guys out there, but as far as, you know, making like a fantastic living doing the tournament stuff, you know, it's, you know, it kind of depends. You know, there's different ways to, for sure, you know, profit off of, you know, making video content in the bass fishing world. A lot of times you got to go to different places by, you know, doing side projects with sponsors, whether that's doing, you know, real content on Instagram, social media, or, you know, also doing the YouTube stuff or bringing all that together. There's plenty of different ways of going out and going about it now. But I do agree. I think it is also very niche market, but you gotta love it. You know, you gotta love it more than anything to stick to it, because it is a lot.
Am I making a huge mistake in the fact that, I mean, I run this, I have no desire to have a Facebook page for BTL. Am I making a big mistake by not putting shorts and having a Facebook page for BTL that says, hey, this is what's coming up? I have a dormant page. I have a dormant page with 8,000 followers on it that has not been updated since 2018. But I also get on Facebook like once a month, and the peace that I feel in my life by not getting on Facebook when I do, I just want to chuck my phone. I just want to flush my phone down the toilet every time I actually like end up getting on Facebook and just remotely going down that path. But is that, I mean, like with what I do, I also have never done a reel before, ever, or have an Instagram account for BTL.
Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. That'd be awesome. Gotta do that. Yeah,
you have to do that. Why are you not?
Gotta do that.
I don't have to, because I have it.
Come on.
Do that.
Facebook. You're missing out on Facebook. Facebook.
Like I said, I got 8,000 that are just sitting there dormant that I haven't updated since 2018.
Oh my dude, Facebook is popping off right now.
I know it is. Trust me, Mark. I put in the work.
Got to put in the work.
But I'm also to a point in my life where I value my sanity and my peace. And if that's a couple Facebook bucks that maybe slide through the cracks, I'm willing to live with that. I just
can Can Mac and I just run your page and get the money from it?
No.
Okay. Period. Shoot my shot there.
Well, you know, there's like AI now. AI.
Yeah, I know, but I don't. I don't like. I still subscribe to the using AI for things that get you to the creative point that you're doing it, not to actually create the content. So like even on like my thumbnails and stuff, like I use Canva, but I still build all the images and come up with everything that's on there. I'm not like spitting it out and letting it, because then everything looks uniform. So I'd rather look a little bit antiquated, but it be original and I have my hands on it, than be, you know, like up to date. Like there must have been some program that came out, because now everyone's AI fishing thumbnails look identical. Like it's the same things in the same background with that same kind of weird, like really rich tone. Like you just jack the gain up on everything. Like that's all the same program. It's got to be, you know, they're spitting it out. I still got like black and green, cut the photo out, figure out what I want to say, which is like still better than I used to, because I just started doing thumbnails this year. You guys are judging hardcore. I don't give a damn.
Yeah, dude, Matt, it's just so funny because like Matt, like you're awesome, man. Because you do it purely for your love of it, which is awesome.
No, I do it purely because it's my full-time job. I mean,
but I don't know. I'm the same way on like in my side, where I'm just focused on the product and trying to create something good. And then maybe I missed a few areas where I could have monetized it, but I'm like, I had fun doing that. And I feel like it was rewarding to the people that were a part of it.
Every time I try to do something for views, I'm like, oh, that was fantastic. I'm not doing that again for a year.
But you have such like a library of just great clips of like 30-second to a minute, just great interviews. Yes. Like back to the Jeffries days that you could put back out there on Facebook, and you'd have 50,000.
So I could do like 5 clips a day that I scheduled to go out every single day for 365 days, basically spend 2 days making them, just schedule it and just have it freaking roll.
You probably have 100K followers by the end of the year.
There's not that many people that care about professional bass fishing.
I don't think
might be surprised.
I think the fan really, Mac, you think it's bigger than I'm thinking? Now, are you talking like, or people who are like, oh, he explains how the EQ process works? Hold the phone. I got to listen to this segment. Like, I think that's like 30,000 people.
That's 50 to 100, maybe
50 to 100.
I think you'd reach outside demographics that would enjoy. Like,
yeah. So I did find. I'm trying to see where I did with it. It's somewhere. It's a hard drive, and it's everything that I did on the road from 2015 to 2017, which is now like over a decade old. So it's like in Florida with Bobby Lane on a golf course, casting a golf ball that's attached to a bait caster, playing 9 holes of line links is what I called it. Competing against Andy Bean, who was runner up in a major. That's PGA awesome. Tour Pro. Like I got all sorts of A-Mart stuff, Ike stuff, in the house stuff from just random stuff.
Well, don't sleep on your new audience too that didn't have the Jeffries days or just tuned in within the last year. I'd like to think we've probably introduced some new listeners to BTL, to our Fishing Chaos stuff.
Yeah.
And like I think you're also like there's people that are, like high school anglers, college anglers, and as they're getting older, they're investing more into ingesting the media side. And like obviously I think a lot of people, it's the first sort of like media that they engage with. And I'm not just saying this, I feel like it's BTL. That was my experience. Like when I really started following it, I started listening to BTL, and that's what I just did every week. So I feel like you probably have a lot of new listeners out there that love some of that old content.
Yeah, I got a lot of time in August. August is like an open month for me. So I get the new boat in a cut. Well, we do 4th of July. I got this awesome 4th of July shirt. It's Abraham Lincoln playing the guitar.
Let's go.
In black and white, like Johnny Cash style. Anyway, that going to Utah for that, going to California this weekend. And then it's 4th of July. Then I get the new boat. Then I go to Champlain, but then I've got 3 weeks in August. Maybe during that heat of the summer is get the old social media rolling.
There you go. Hey, Matt, I know a way we can maybe raise a few funds for BTL right now that you didn't know about till now, probably.
What's that?
So we were talking about epic online tournaments. There's one that's coming up here in the next couple of months. We're kicking off Chaos Cup, which is an always-on tournament that is establishing platform rankings across the platform in every state down to the zip code. And there's going to be a drawing for a bunch of prizes at the end, but one of those is a Bass Cat Pantera.
Really?
Yeah. And to compete in that, you just had a subscription to Fishing Chaos. And we just launched a subscription. And
is that what I saw at the top of it, where you had like 3 different levels?
Yep. I mean, you can get up to 40% off Lose, Strike King, a bunch of other brands, and just a bunch of cool perks. And if you use the code BTL26 at checkout, you get $10 off the top 2 level subscriptions. And Matt gets paid off of that by us. And he's just finding this out now.
Oh, I hate subscription-based paying, though, because then you always feel like you're begging.
Well, this is different because, like, no platform fees. You never pay a platform fee from us. You get mapping. You get unlimited waypoint storage. You get these discounts. You get Chaos Cup. You can run your own tournaments of up to 25 people without ever having to contact us. It's a quick start tournament. You just press a button and go.
Gotcha. Okay, so like this is where it makes sense. If you're planning on even like buying 2 or 3 new reels over the next year, you do a one-time annual ultimate thing for $100 and then get 30 to 40% off of whatever Lose using the discount code that you are. So you're saving like $500 for $100. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that. I can get behind that.
Yeah. And if you fish a few tournaments that have fees associated with them and you're fishing 3 to 5 tournaments, you'll save that by having the subscription even before you get to the discounts and all the other cool stuff. Challenge,
Cup tournaments, and then all sorts of eligible monthly prizes for $100.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Very cool. Will I have to be competing against Dalton?
That's the great thing about it is yes, you're competing against him, but you'll see when we roll out the actual rules. It is set up to where Dalton doesn't get to just run through the whole field and take everybody's money. So
that guy averages like an 11 pounder for every fish that he's weighed in on Fishing Chaos.
Dude, I told that kid, I'm like, you need a freaking YouTube channel, man. Like, what are you doing? You got to put some of this content out.
If I had his public pond or lake or wherever he's fishing, I would stay as far away from YouTube as possible. That thing's freaking literally filled with friggin' gold bricks across the bottom.
Well, if he keeps winning, I'm going to put a big circle around the lake that he's fishing and say, this lake is off limits.
Off limits, yeah, like they did back in the old Bass Club. Like if you win one out of the marina, then you show up the next year and tournament director's like, everything's in play except that marina. And then everyone's like, cool. And the one guy who won out of the marina is like, it's 20 miles down lake. What are you talking about? And he's like, tournament director, you want to do it? Be the tournament director.
Yeah. You want my job? Yeah. No, I think Dalton would probably still catch him. He's got a few honey holes.
Yeah. But, yeah, I do. I mean, just since I've taken over, I think we're at over 1,400 shows. That's 26. Dang. Yeah, a little over 250, like 250, 300 a year.
That's awesome. Golly. Yeah, I see why you worry less about the Facebook. I mean, that's so much.
Yeah, I get it.
That's so much volume. Golly.
It's like I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to look at that all that content. Man, I don't blame you.
Have you seen that? Have you seen that reel that's going around on Instagram where the dude's like at Bass Pro Shops and he wants to go back and like bass fish and chill? Where he's like, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. We can leave Bass Pro Shops and we can go like home and watch bass fishing videos and chill." she's like,
I
oh, or we could just do something completely unrelated to fishing. And he like can't understand the concept. I sent that to the wife, and she's like, yeah, we pretty much bass fish and chill every single day of the
bass
year.
fish and chill. That's
Watch
funny.
fish and chill. Or something like that. All right. Anything else, guys? Mac, Tom, I appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate
the time.
All right. Take her easy.
Thanks,
See ya. Stay tuned.
Thanks, guys.
.com. You can do it on the App Store, regardless of what apps you have. Also, they have a YouTube channel, all the social medias that they update absolutely regular. And if you have any questions about it, you can either email Fishing Chaos or you can email me, matt@basszone.com. I'll forward that on to Tom, or it then becomes his problem, and I won't think about it again. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Hey, appreciate it, Matt.
See ya. All right. There you go. Very informative show today. And then we'll be back, since we didn't do any shows last week, since I was developing a worrywart at the Mississippi River, as we covered earlier in the show. Tonight, Ish Monroe. I asked him, holy cow, I just kicked my my stand and jostled it. I asked him, can we talk about this, and this? And he's like, hell yeah, bring it on. So Ish Monroe tonight. Let's see if we can find the music. They keep changing StreamYard about every 30 seconds. Oh, there we go. He will bring the juice. We'll talk to everyone later. See ya.